Good evening, welcome to another episode of 758 Sports Talk. And we are in the carnival season, so activities on the weekend, tremendous, difficult, very difficult to get everything considering the amount of things going on in St. Lucia right now. Of course, Sweet Calypso is in the air. Of course, a very intriguing year so far. In fact, for me, it's always intriguing because anybody who knows me knows that I love my Calypso. And of course, we have pretty much going on concurrently sporting activities all over St. Lucia, of course, in the region and, of course, in the world. The World Cup, of course, we'll be having a discussion on not just the World Cup, something done at the same time with the World Cup this year. So in St. Lucia, Coca-Cola having been one of the sponsors of the World Cup, the global event. They started their own little football competition, their own little World Cup in St. Lucia. That started on the weekend. And so my guest tonight will be Mr. Lyndon Cooper. We'll be having a discussion on that and, of course, all things football a little bit later on. So stick around for that. We will be opening the lines to you guys, of course, to ask your questions. Of course, the WhatsApp number is 4880929. You can start sending your WhatsApp messages as soon as you want to. We also will be touching base with the St. Lucia Amateur Swimming Association. There is the Karen Bobre swimming competition. We will be on the phone with a representative to tell us a little bit more about that later on, of course. Now, a lot of things happened on the weekend. A lot happened, especially in the world, I would say. And as usual, unable to carry all of them during our sports package, so we get through some of them relatively quickly for you guys. The schedule was announced for the World T20 competition, the Women's ICC World T20 2018 schedule that was announced, and we are seeing a lot of games to be played around the region. In fact, 3 venues. It will be in the West Indies from the 9th of November to the 24th of November. So definitely looking forward to that. 10 teams will be in the tournament featuring 3-time champions Australia, reigning ICC Women's World Cup winners England, India, New Zealand, Pakistan, South Africa, Sri Lanka, and of course the defending champions are the West Indies. 2 qualifiers will be played across the 3 venues in the Caribbean. All right, so the finalists of the ICC Women's World T20 qualifier in the Netherlands from the 7th to the 14th will also feature in the tournament. And this should be very, very interesting. All right. The teams participating in the qualifying part of the event: Bangladesh, Ireland, Netherlands, Papua New Guinea, Scotland, Thailand, Uganda, and the United Arab Emirates. So all of the 23 matches of the ICC Women's World T20 will be broadcast live to actually get the momentum and focus on the women's cricket. So that should be very, very interesting. Defending champions West Indies are in Group A. So in Group A, we will see England, South Africa, Sri Lanka, and qualifier 1 from the Netherlands event. While Australia, India, New Zealand, Pakistan, and qualifier 2 will be in Group B. So very, very tough competition there. England, South Africa, Sri Lanka, and qualifier 1. And of course, Australia, India, New Zealand, Pakistan, qualifier 2. 2 groups. So should be very keenly contested. So the event, it kicks off at the Guyana National Stadium. India and New Zealand, they will play in that first match. In the second match, Australia will play against Pakistan. And the West Indies, they will play against that qualifier under lights. So good for West Indies to have a sort of a, of course, it's the World Cup and anything can happen, but a qualifier in the first game, so that should let us see where we are as defending champions. All right, so we will see what happens there. All right, so the Dan Sami Cricket Grounds in St. Lucia will be one of the venues for the group stage, and the first match they're pitting England against Sri Lanka on the 10th of November. So Vivian Richards Cricket Ground in Antigua will host both semi-finals on November 22nd, and of course the final on the 24th of November. So lots of cricket in the region, World Cup cricket. Of course, that should bode well for our sports tourism product. Some of the teams will be obviously traveling with their fans. We know there are a number of Indians, in fact, a number of Asians at medical schools around the island. They should be interested in that Women's World Cup. And of course, the traveling teams would also bring their fans in the region. England normally travels pretty well for cricket, and so that should be very, very, very good for us in the region. Now, of course, West Indies that year had that historic treble The men won their World Cup, the women won their World Cup, and of course the under-19 team. And we've seen some of the individuals from that West Indies team still featuring. The likes of Stephanie Taylor will be on board for the West Indies team. Of course, the final team has not been announced. It's still early days, and we'll be hoping our very own could somehow get in the mix once again. Of course, talking about Kiana Joseph, hopefully she can find some form with both bat and ball and make St. Lucia proud at these World Cups. So it should be very, very, very interesting towards the end of the year. Okay, well, locally, as we normally do on the weekends, up north, the CWI Northern Cluster Grassroots Cricket Program. Of course, that continued on Saturday, on the 23rd, at Darren Sammy Cricket Grounds. 68 young cricketers, 68 of them participated in the activities, including throwing technique drills, target throwing, catching, high and close, tip and run, of course, mini cricket matches. I've been around that activity a couple of times, and I must say the kids look like they're having a lot of fun while they practice the fundamentals of cricket. And of course, we're seeing the benefits of that in our regional game at the youth level. Though some bad news tonight in terms of the under-19 cricket team over in Grenada. Things are not, well, difficult to get all the information, and so we will see if we get some more information before the night is over. All right, so coaches conducting included Arton Crafton, Rosen Preville, and Niras Ogis as usual. And so very, very well done there for that Northern Cluster Grassroots Cricket Program. They also wanted to mention the 7 grassroots boys, the 7 of them who came from that program, who are now on the team, including Kimani Melius, who's the vice captain, Dean Edward, Jad Goodman, Simeon Gerson, Gavin Sirier, who had a very, very good opening spell, in fact, opening day spell, Keegan Arnold and Matteo Bolong. All right, so congratulations to these guys for making the national team. And of course, we're seeing what the Northern Cluster Grassroots Program brings to our sport in St. Lucia. All right, so it seems to me like every time we get information about cycling in St. Lucia, that name comes up. Andrew Norbert of Monibo. Andrew Norbert of Monibo, he retained the 103.2 kilometer national championship road race. He maintained it. The race started with 17 riders at 9:45, and of course, Norbert, he finished in 2 hours 59 minutes 36.53 seconds. Winston Williams finished second from Excellers, 2 hours 59 minutes 43 seconds. Fidel Esnard from Project Breakaway, 3 hours 6 minutes. Alvinus Mandezi from the Denry Valley finished fourth in the 3 hours 6 minutes 1 second. Donald Joseph finished fifth from Denry Rockets riders, 3 hours 12 minutes 57.25 seconds. And Richard Smith from Project Breakaway, he finished in 6th from the 17 riders. So not bad. Andrew Norbert again doing very well in the sport of riding. Okay, also on the weekend, the Olympic Day run, as we featured during our news tonight, was held on the 23rd of June, Olympic Day, and it was the Olympic walk run. As a matter of fact, it's just a fitness activity for all those individuals who just want to be part of the celebration of Olympic Day. And as we saw in the news, there was an interview with Mrs. Fortuna Belrose, who is also part of that cluster of ministries in the Department of Youth Development and Sports, and the president of our local Olympic Committee. And of course, a lot of activities on the weekend. In fact, the week leading up to the actual activity, the culmination of the walk and the day, the walk run activity on Sunday. All right, so we're just going to take in that interview in its entirety with Mrs. Fortuna Belrose.
Yeah. Yes, I think we're quite elated as a team. We've chosen the best from St. Lucia, particularly with respect to the swimming and the track and field. We have Katie Heil and Jean-Luc, who at the Commonwealth Games were exposed to big competition. So they're now going to the CSC Championships. As you know, swimming is always strong in this region. You have the Central Americans as well as the Mexicans and Cuba. All of these countries are there. So it's going to be tough. But I think we believe that given the metal these two athletes look like they're made of, they will give a good account of themselves. In the case of the track and field, we've been there before. Laverne has the record, I think, for the CAC, or she's joint owner of that record. for CSC 1.94 meters, which was held by the Cuban before she came on a few years ago. And so she's going in with perhaps one of the best heights in this region in the last year. So we're hopeful that if things go well, and again, like I always say, sport is about on the day. You never know what can go wrong. But by the look of things, if she does well, it should be a medal for us. In the case of Albert Reynolds too, he has qualified for the event. He's made the standards that we've set, so we expect him to go out there and do well. And then Chandisha Antoine likewise has qualified based on the standards we've set for the event. So we expect them to give off, good representation for the country. And then of course we have other sports going in. We have the boxers who were at the Commonwealth Games, 2 of them. So we expect them to do well. We're sending them up to Trinidad, I think next week. They're going off to a training camp in Trinidad to assist them again preparing for the exposure. As you know, the Central American region is a very strong region again with respect to boxing. So it's a tough competition. I think it's even going to be tougher than Commonwealth, to be honest, if you based on what we see with the Mexicans and everybody else. But the fact is, these guys are hungry, they're determined, they knew what the weaknesses were for them, so they would go out there with and can do their best. So we're giving them that opportunity to go to Trinidad, improve on their craft, so they can go out there and perform. We have one taekwondo athlete who is going across to compete as well. He has not had many competitions, but he offered himself up for competition in Mexico, which did not materialize in the way it should, but the organizers of the event, have asked that he be on the schedule. And then, of course, we have beach volleyball. We have male and female teams going across as well to compete as well. So it's going to be interesting for us. We do have a strong chance of medaling in some of the events, and we'll wait and see.
Mrs. Belrose, one notable absentee was Janelle Schaefer. What's with her, do you know?
Well, I think the priority, the arrangements for the National Track and Field Association is that athletes come home to compete for nationals before they make the national teams. And I'm not sure if she was home. I wasn't home, but I don't think.
Was she there, Tony?
I don't think she reported for that duty.
Right.
So I'm not sure why. I'll find out, but she's not on the list that was submitted to us.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so information there and update on activities pretty much from the Olympic Committee. Of course, we see in the Caribbean Championship, Caribbean and Central American Championship, contingent of athletes will be making their way over there. The usual suspects, Albert Reynolds, of course, featured in the javelin event. We have a beach volleyball team participating as well. Anytime you're passing along the Castries-Grosley Highway and you look to your left when you get to close to Sagicor, you would see training on there. Of course, Jacques Rosalie, coach, Mr. Of course, Trevor. Coach Trevor is always there with I can't believe I said Trevor. Terry is always there. Mr. Wooden, Terry Wooden, coaching with the volleyball team, the beach volleyball team. Of course, that should be an interesting competition for them. The preparation long that these people have been preparing for that competition, and of course others. And so we got some answers there from the president herself, Madam President herself, in terms of preparations and some of the activities ongoing. Okay, and so we saw from our news report that about 500 individuals participated in the Olympic Day walk run. And of course, the Olympic Committee would be hoping that more individuals would participate. But again, as I started the program saying, the time of year, the actual time of year that we are in right now, the carnival season, the calypso season, and some of the activities that have you up late on a Saturday night, really would kind of not permit you to wake up very early on a Sunday morning around this time. I guess I'm speaking for myself, but definitely activities later on in the evening and that sort of thing are more tailored to individuals around this time of year. And so we saw the numbers from the report, about 500, which is still not bad. All right, other information, the competition, the West Indies cricket, female cricket 50-over competition, Jamaica eked out a win against Leeward Islands at Melbourne Oval, but they settled for second place behind Barbados in the 2018 Cricket West Indies Regional Women's Super 50 tournament. All right, Jamaican off-spinner Morgan, she grabbed 3 for 26 to help dismiss the Leeward Islands for 114 from 38 overs. In reply, Jamaica struggled to 115 for 8. Tiffany Thorpe, she took a 4 for 46. All right, in the other game, all right, so I'm seeing a discrepancy there. I'm seeing Windward Islands there now, so I'm thinking it should have been Leeward Islands. All right, Barbados, they beat Trinidad by 4 wickets at Shedwin Park. Trinidad and Tobago 223 for 9, Barbados 226 for 6 in 39.3 overs. All right, some more information for you from activities from last week, the end of last week. Of course, certain individuals are following the competition, the cricket match between West Indies and India. In fact, Sri Lanka very closely. And of course, we saw in St. Lucia absolute high drama with Captain Shandimal, Dinesh Shandimal, and pretty much the umpires pretty much having a back and forth. And the information reaching our desk late last week was that Shandimal, of course, Hiruth Singha and Guru Singha, that is the coach and manager, they have all admitted to a breach of ICC Code of Conduct during the second test. Of course, that code of conduct they're referring to is their refusal to take the field and having a 2-hour-long delay. Of course, Captain Shandimal, despite all the video evidence in the world, is still adamant that he did nothing wrong when it pertained to altering the ball, when we've shown on DBS ad nauseum some of the footage of he actually using something from his mouth onto his finger to place onto the ball. But he's still challenging that finding, that ban that he received. And of course, from all indication, Sri Lanka Cricket, the SLC, is standing behind their captain, which is very, very intriguing. So we'll see what happens. So they've admitted to the breach of the code of conduct. No surprise there in terms of not coming out onto the field and pretty much having a 2-hour-long delay. But Captain Shandimal is still adamant. As a matter of fact, the reports from the Heron stated that he said he did not remember what he actually put in his mouth. And boy, that is difficult. But what? That is very difficult to imagine. You put something into your mouth and within days after, at that particular time, when everything is seen on TV, you just cannot even recall what you put in your mouth. That is very, let's just put it lightly, that is very difficult to believe. All right, so very, very interesting. We'll be following up on that to see what actually happened. With regards to the Test cricket game, of course, rain, as you've been, Barbados is not that far away from St. Lucia, so the weather conditions are not dissimilar, and we're seeing start-stop, a Test match. And from all indications, if there is a result, well, from what we know, the very least that could happen is a drawn series for West Indies. But obviously, from the fight we saw from the captain, Jason Holder, along with the wicket-keeper, Shane Dawich, we've seen West Indies have every desire to actually win that encounter and take a 2-0 win in that series. So we'll definitely be following that for you. And of course, you can join us during our sports package for more information on the progress of the West Indies. All right, so for tonight, we're definitely going to be discussing football. We have a lot of other information for you guys as it pertains to the World Cup. We will definitely talk briefly on that. We did Sports on the Block in the Castries Basin, and we have a number of other opinions out there on the actual state of the World Cup, and so we'll get to that a little bit later. But individuals in town, again, St. Lucia, I feel perhaps I've spoiled certain people that seem to feel that I am some kind of sports encyclopedia, and so I mean, when they see me, they have questions and that sort of thing. And I mean, it's okay, but sometimes the information is out there and you can get it. I'm not saying don't ask me questions, but again, for those of you following the World Cup closely, very, very interesting discussion in terms of Switzerland players, Xhaka and Shaqiri. These individuals pretty much facing some disciplinary action, to a 2-match ban for their goal celebration. And so individuals were just stopping me to ask me exactly what actually happened, what the surrounding information is on that. So I'm just going to read the story. Switzerland pair Xhaka and Shaqiri face 2-match bans for their goal celebrations in their side's World Cup victory over Serbia. Football World Governing Body is investigating whether they broke rules on political and offensive messages. Both players are ethnic Albanians from Kosovo, where a Serbian crackdown on the Albanian population only ended with NATO military intervention in 1999. They made the double eagle gestures. For some of you who did not see it, the celebration they did was this, the eagles. And of course, For some individuals, that's not a middle finger, that's not flipping the bird. But some individuals ask me why, for doing that symbol, these guys are being investigated and banned. But let me just get through the rest of the story. They made double eagle gestures after scoring, symbolizing the Albanian flag. Now, the country's flag carries the image of a double-headed eagle. And Article 54 of the governing body's disciplinary code, anyone who provokes the general public during a match will be suspended for 2 matches and sanctioned a fine of $5,000. Now, let me just put this quite simply. So we have a situation where it goes all the way back to Czechoslovakia, Yugoslavia, the actual area in Europe that we had one massive land called one thing, the Yugoslavia, pretty much Czechoslovakia. And obviously, when you have a place much like the Middle East where every individual area, pocket, these people have religious differences. These people have different beliefs in terms of the structure of your government, whether it should be, as in Cuba, communist, or whether it should be pretty much capitalist. And so these people have different religious values. So based on the different pockets in that history, to put it simply, the individuals decided that they wanted to break away from just one regime who demanded that everybody pretty much believed in one thing and so came to one rule of law. So we saw Croatia, we saw other little individual countries pretty much demanding independence. And one of the countries that demanded independence pretty much quite recently is Kosovo. Now, the 2 individuals in question that we're speaking of, Shaqiri and Xhaka, they have their historical roots from that country, from Kosovo. So what actually happened is one of the individuals, I think Shaqiri, his mother fled, because when these individuals decided they wanted independence, the motherland, which is Serbia, decided that, no, we're not giving you all independence, you're staying part of Serbia. So what actually happened is these individuals demanded their independence, and Serbia did something in terms of something called ethnic cleansing. These individuals were Muslims who decided they wanted to have their own government structure, their own education structure, their own religious structure. Serbia decided that, you know what, we're just going to get rid of all of you guys who believe that this is what you should do. Of course, some of the individuals fled. One of the individuals who fled was Shaqiri's mother. Okay, so what happened is that Shaqiri now pretty much, and his family moved into Switzerland. So which is why Shaqiri is playing for Switzerland. Shaqiri and Xhaka, they're playing for Switzerland. Now, they were playing against Serbia. Serbia is the motherland who oppressed the Kosovo people, who eventually ran away, some of them, who caused these individuals to now be in Switzerland. So what you had was these individuals beating Serbia now, Switzerland beating Serbia, and when they scored, they pretty much did the representation of the flag for Kosovo, which is a political gesture. A lot of the other countries in the world have not recognized Kosovo as being an independent state, and so this was a political declaration that we are in support of these individuals. Now, FIFA frowns upon any sort of gesture that is of political nature, and as we see from what is being said there from Article 54, anyone who provokes the general public during a match will be suspended for 2 matches. So that's similar to St. Lucia having some form of a political unrest, and an individual playing in black hat competition decides to take out his shirt to signal to something about, oh, go away Labour, or go away Flubber or something. If Mr. Lyndon Cooper does not take disciplinary action against this individual for doing that on the field, I guarantee you CONCACAF will have his head. If CONCACAF will have his head, FIFA will have his head. So this is pretty much what's going on in Switzerland with those 2 players. They had some political gestures, and so whether it has happened now or when we get offset, these individuals will be disciplined in that World Cup for doing that activity. I hope that I made it as plain as possible to make people understand, because about 10 people asked me that today, and I mean, to go into the actual history of that area to make it clear it takes some time. So I felt like, okay, so tonight I have the opportunity, I'll just let you guys know so we can move on from that. All right, Argentina. Argentina's squad is the worst in history, according to World Cup winner Adilis. Argentina has been getting a lot of flack. Of course, Messi, I don't know if you saw a suicide moment on Friday, but of course, Messi was part of the whole discussion, and he pretty much said that They're struggling. They're struggling, and pretty much the team that everybody thought would be so superior having a lot of difficulties on there. All right, so we do for a break. We definitely do for a break. We'll take a break. We'll take our break now. When we come back, of course, since we're already into the World Cup discussion, we will definitely do our Sports on the Block segment and definitely have a conversation with our guest who's already in studio. So we'll take a break. When we come back, we'll have more for you guys.
Something good, something rich, something really, something max, something up, do you feel me? And my might and my strength, yeah, and the power over those who challenge me, yeah. I know you are stronger, oh, and you know you go longer. Just live your life day by day, stand firm and just conquer. That's what I'm talking about, Triple X out.
Welcome back to 758 Sports Talk, and we definitely have a lot to touch base on tonight. We are trying to get a special individual on the line for you guys. All right, so we have that individual to talk about some activities in the area of swimming. Good evening, you're live. How you doing, madam?
Hi, good evening, Kenson. How are you?
I'm good. We have on the phone Lily Bagas, who is one of the organizers for swimming activities, and of course the CJ Swim Club, part of the CJ Swim Club. What's been going on?
CJ Swim Club is hosting yet another meet this coming weekend in memory of our coach Karen Bobrin, who passed away in 2011. And this is the 4th annual Karen Bobrin Swim Meet.
Okay.
On the 30th of June and July 1st.
All right. So tell us how it's been going in terms of organizing the event, or what have you guys put in place to ensure that the persons come out?
It's the last meet for this quarter before a lot of the clubs break up for the summer. So kids and coaches look forward to this meet. It's a fun one. It's a short one, and it's because it's in honor of Karen, who is known as Auntie Karen to so many swimmers. People enjoy coming out to it and competing in the name of Karen. So it's a fun one for them, and it's a special one for all of her swimmers. She was well known and loved by so many swimmers.
Okay, all right. CJ Swim Club, of course, well organized, well run swim club, doing a lot of things locally. Tell us a little bit about you guys in the last year and how things have been shaping up for you guys.
CJ's is, I think, the oldest swim club that's been around. We counted just not long ago. I think it's been 28 years that CJ's has existed. We do host a lot of meets. We enjoy it. We have a good team. Over the years, over this past year, we've had several successful swimmers move on to Carifta, CC We have some of our boys going over tomorrow, down to Aruba to swim. And we've had great times this year from our swimmers, and from our little ones, we've got a lot of little ones coming up as well. So we're a big club, and we're doing very well.
All right. So who are some of the other individuals from the executive that are working together to make sure that this weekend's activity is successful?
It's a whole team event. We have a big team of parents working all the time at fundraising and organizing, not only for this weekend, but we are also partnering with the St. Lucia Yacht Club to host the Channel Swim open water event, a 1, 3, and a 5K event next Sunday. So we are doubling up our efforts to host 2 meets, really, in 2 weeks.
All right, so the open water event, tell us a little bit more about it for St. Lucians who do not know the actual structure and how you actually execute it. How exactly are you guys going to get that done?
The St. Lucia Channel Swim, we've been planning that. I'm part of that organizing team for that as well. We've been planning it since March, and we have one swimmer this year who will be swimming across the channel starting from Cap Maison at 4 o'clock in the morning next Saturday, July the 7th. And his name is Nathaniel Waring. He's come from the States. And he, along with New Zealander Philip Rush, are coming on the 4th of July really to get the St. Lucia Channel Swim going as an annual event. Nathaniel's doing it this year, but we already have interest in future years. We have people who want to come in 2019. Philip Rush is really an open water guru who's from New Zealand, who is the organizer of the English Channel Swim. So he's going to give us some tips on how to make this a great event for the future. And that's on Saturday, July 6th. And CJ's is hosting the open water swim meet on the Sunday for those of us who aren't ready to swim the channel.
Okay.
And that's at the St. Lucia Yacht Club, Redwood Beach. And registration for that will be at the Karen Bobrin meet, both Saturday and Sunday this coming. And at any time at the St. Lucia Yacht Club from Friday the 6th and Saturday the 7th.
All right, interesting. Okay, so just for the benefit of our viewers, our listeners, just go through the activity for this weekend. Tell individuals how they can come out, at what time the event taking place, and why they should support these events that you guys have organized.
All right, this weekend the Karen Bobrin Swim Meet starts Saturday morning, 9:15, with an opening ceremony. It's a short meet, so it'll probably end about 1 o'clock, and the same times on Sunday, 9:15 till about 1 o'clock. The following weekend, I did forget to mention that Philip Rush is also delivering open water swimming clinics to our swimmers island-wide and our coaches on the Friday at the St. Lucia Yacht Club. That's Friday the 6th of July. And the open water 1, 3, and 5 kilometer race is open to anyone who would like to swim from anywhere.
Wow.
We have about 20 people coming from Guadeloupe and Martinique. But we are certainly hoping that a lot of local people who enjoy swimming out in the sea and the shore to come on out. I know that there's triathletes coming. We have pool swimmers coming. There's a lot of people out there swimming, so we hope that everybody comes and registers. We're hoping for about 50, 60 swimmers for that meet.
All right. Thank you so much, Lily, for providing us with that information. And, of course, all the best with all your activities. I know you guys work very, very hard to develop the next generation of swimmers. And so many people have said that perhaps our first Olympic gold medal will be from swimming. I have a guest next to me who would probably disagree, but all the best to you guys.
We're hoping for it. Thank you very much, Kenson.
All right, to see you.
All right.
All right, so that's Miss Lily Bogas there, of course, from CJ Swim Club, organizing the activity for this weekend. And, of course, the open water swim challenge, of course, something that we could all look forward to following as well here. All right. Okay, so moving right along, I definitely want to encourage you guys to continue to support the swimming. Rodney Heights Aquatic Center is the venue for these activities, as she said, this weekend, Saturday, and of course Sunday, other events. All right. Yeah, so we definitely have some other stuff for you guys. On the weekend, of course, the DBS Sports went around the island. Football is all in the air, locally, regionally, and of course internationally. And so after 2 rounds are pretty much wrapped up, of course, a lot of surprises, some things are not too surprising. We pretty much went around and we asked individuals who they thought would win this year's World Cup event. And this is Sports on the Block. Who do you think will win this year's World Cup?
Well, you know, I'm a Brazilian. I'm from South America. So it's Brazil already all the way. It's very interesting presently right now with what we see going on. A lot of what we say new kids in the block is showing face. Anything can happen. It seems to be a very upsetful World Cup. Yeah. But I'm a Brazilian. I'm ready with Brazil. When Brazil gone, I'll have to jump on some other bandwagon. But for now, I'm ready in Brazil. I have to be honest.
It's very hard to say. I'm an Argentine. Yes, of course, and we're so sad. we're not doing that good as yet. I'm expecting Messi to put on a show, you understand, in the last game there against that African side. Although that I love the African sides, but Messi's gonna put on a show, and I'm supposing that Argentina will go to the second round of the games at the World Cup. Well, it's Belgium. Belgium looks very good indeed. You know, with that first 3-0 defeat that they had some other games like England thrashed that opposing team there of 6, and there are some other games, you know, that was very nice indeed, I must say. But Argentina to the world.
Mexico all the way. Well, Brazil is my side, but Mexico all the way.
Can we get the shirt, please? So what about England?
I support my wife. My wife is England, so I support my wife. All right, she's England.
I am watching the team that's playing the best football, and to me is Croatia.
Croatia?
At this point in time, yeah. Wow. Best brand of football.
Kind of looking tough, you know. It's, Brazil I support, so I feel it's Brazil will come on top.
Brazil?
Yep.
So what do you think about Belgium's chances?
Belgium, I think it has to go further, you know. Maybe quarterfinals. If they reach quarterfinals, maybe.
France and Belgium looking good, and that's the teams I chose to be in the finals. But on the day, who, you know, the team who comes together, play as a team, will win the tournament. But the teams we have, you know, individual talent will be very difficult. It's a team game, so when I watch it, Belgium is a very complete team, and France and Belgium, one of them. That's my choice.
Growing up, I used to hear Mr. Striker Hippolyte do all the World Cup analysis on my TV, but now, you know, things seem to have changed, so we finally get him here. What do you think?
Well, for me, too early to say, you know. It's much too early to say, because the way it's going, you see some talented teams, you see some good team football, but they have teams you could never count out.
Today our question is World Cup. Who do you think will win this year's World Cup?
Well, you know, I'm a Brazilian. I'm from South America. So it's Brazil already all the way. It's very interesting presently right now with what we see going on. A lot of what we say new kids in the block is showing face. Anything can happen. It seems to be a very upsetful World Cup. Yeah. But I'm a Brazilian. I'll ride with Brazil. When Brazil gone, I'll have to jump on some other bandwagon. But for now, I'm riding Brazil. I have to be honest.
It's very hard to say. I'm an Argentine. Yes, of course, and we're so sad. we're not doing that good as yet. I'm expecting Messi to put on a show, you understand, in the last game there against that African side. Although that I love the African sides, but Messi's gonna put on a show, and I'm supposing that Argentina will go to the second round of the games at the World Cup. Well, it's Belgium. Belgium looks very, very good indeed. You know, with that first 3-0 defeat that they had some other games like England thrashed that opposing team there of 6, and there are some other games, you know, that was very, very nice indeed, I must say. But Argentina to the world.
Mexico all the way. Well, Brazil is my side, but Mexico all the way.
Can we get the shirt, please? So what about England?
I support my wife. My wife is England, so I support my wife. All right, she's England.
I am watching the team that's playing the best football, and to me is Croatia.
Croatia?
At this point in time, yeah. Wow. Best brand of football.
Kind of looking tough, you know. Brazil I support, so I feel it's Brazil will come on top.
Brazil?
Yep.
So what do you think about Belgium's chances?
Belgium, I think it has to go further, you know. Maybe quarterfinals. If they reach quarterfinals, maybe.
France and Belgium looking good, and that's the teams I chose to be in the finals. But on the day, who, you know, the team who comes together, play as a team, will win the tournament. But the teams we have, you know, individual talent will be very difficult. It's a team game, so when I watch it, Belgium is a very complete team, and France and Belgium, one of them. That's my choice.
Growing up, I used to hear Mr. Striker Hippolyte do all the World Cup analysis on my TV, but now, you know, things seem to have changed, so we finally get him here. What do you think?
Boy, for me, too early to say, you know. It must too early to say, because the way it's going, you see some talented teams, you see some good team football, but they have teams you could never count out. They have a history of doing well in the World Cup. Once you allow Germany a little space and they go through, you're in trouble. So you can't count Germany out. Brazil looking like something, but I don't think they complete enough. Belgium without company in the middle, the defense looking suspect. So it's still, for me, very wide open. Let's wait until next week, and then I'll be able to tell you something better.
France.
Why?
France is the team, so no matter what, sun up, sun down. C'est forcé, monsieur. Oui, monsieur.
Like Zidane.
Oui.
Belgium, you know, have a good team, consistent and everything, you know. There's that clicking yet, but, you know, soon, when they get to the next round, you can see Belgium play football.
To me, I think Germany will win the World Cup. They had a shaky start, but with time and with the last game and improvement, I think they will come through.
Brazil.
Why?
They're the best.
What is it?
Brazil.
Why?
They have the best team.
The best team?
Yeah.
Let's see. So I think France have a better team? No? What do you think? Who win in the World Cup?
France.
Why?
Because of Ousmane Dembele.
Dembele?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So what is it?
Brazil.
Brazil, why?
You have the best side, man.
The best side?
Yeah, man.
Brazil the best side?
Yeah, man.
What about Belgium? Nobody like Belgium?
Definitely, yeah. Belgium have the World Cup, man. The team balance, you have De Bruyne in the back and Lukaku finish in the goal, yeah, man.
Well said, you.
Well, I see Belgium as well because of the midfield. Good stability in the midfield. Axel Witsel, De Bruyne distributing, Hazard creating, Lukaku finishing with Michy Batshuayi because he got a lead injury. So all in all, this is the best team to go forward for that.
Boy, we have some analysts in the making. VG, top 10.
Russia, the home team.
Why?
You know, with the home support there, I think these guys have been playing very good football. So I back them up to win it.
France. They're one of the favorites. Yeah, and I support them.
England. Why?
England have a complete team and the way they knock the ball around. Yeah.
You actually support England?
Yeah. My team is Tottenham Hotspur, so Harry Kane is my main player right there. Guys bagging in goals like joke.
We've seen a lot of up and down football. Who do you think is going to win the 2018 World Cup?
Oh, that one is easy. Croatia all the way, man.
Why?
Because Croatia has this really unique thing about them where they could penetrate any team. They have some of the tallest and strongest players and some of the most prolific goal scorers as well. And I really think that as they continue through the rounds, they're gonna come out with a cup. For sure. No doubts about that one.
After 2 rounds of football, this World Cup, who do you think is going to win 2018 World Cup?
What a side name again? I going to give it to Spain.
Spain?
Yes.
Why?
Spain is my side and I supporting them right through.
Being a Brazilian, but the way I see the World Cup going, so far England has proven to be a force to reckon with. So for now, I going up to England being, or should I say, have a pretty good chance to win the World Cup. It's been a while since, I think 1966, England had a good chance, but I'm a Brazilian by heart.
Wow. Of course, St. Lucians have, of course, varied opinions, as the world has varied opinions as to who's going to win the World Cup. With the World Cup going on in Russia, let me first of all say shout out Kiroy Lionel. I am a absolutely huge fan of this youngster from the Canaries community. Absolute pure talent. Absolute talent. Shout out to this youngster. But yeah, Football World Cup is ongoing all over the world. And of course, right here in St. Lucia, we saw the commencement on the weekend of the first ever Coca-Cola Island Cup. And let me tell you, Marsha Grounds was the place to be on Sunday. We saw 2 enthralling matches. And of course, to discuss Coca-Cola, the Coca-Cola football competition, football in St. Lucia, the World Cup, and all of our ambitions here, I have with me, as you guys could clearly see, Mr. Lyndon Cooper, President of the St. Lucia Football Association. Welcome back to our set, sir.
Thank you for having me again, sir.
How you been?
Doing well.
So let me just get off the lighter foot, since I asked everybody at the grounds and I didn't get an opportunity. Who do you think will walk away with this 2018 FIFA World Cup?
Probably, if you did ask me that at the beginning of the World Cup, I would have definitely tell you is Morocco.
Morocco?
Yeah.
Why?
I just think it's a team that have been consistent in qualifying for a World Cup. And sometimes on the day you go, you would never know, but things up here now, they did not work as predicted.
Yeah. Well, for a lot of people, if they're honest, things did not work as predicted. Well, things have not been working as predicted. Morocco had a very good showing today. Of course, we saw some quality from that team and not winning that bid for the for the World Cup that went over to North America. So, Mr. Cooper, Coca-Cola Cup started on the weekend. Tell us a little bit about the overall overview of why have this competition in St. Lucia right now.
I think we were approached by the sponsors to run a tournament in order to bring football to the communities vis-a-vis the World Cup, and we took the opportunity because we think that we are 2 years away from reintroducing senior football that is actually controlled and managed by the SLFA. You would be aware that we are de-emphasized a few years ago, and the anticipation is that after the Olympic qualifiers now, games in the next 2 years, that we would have been in a position to re-establish our senior national team in terms of what the 4-year, 5-year plan is. So we accepted the invitation, and we just thought that now was an ideal time to make that U-turn, not a U-turn, to take the bend when it comes to senior football. And what actually happened is that we are already preparing to compete in the Nations League, and that would have been an ideal opportunity to do an evaluation of the composition of our first 18 players for our Nations League. So we just thought now would have been the ideal time to accept the sponsorship and to move forward.
All right, so that decision taken to actually partner with Coca-Cola, have the competition island-wide. And of course, the obvious questions persons have been asking in terms of the makeup of the actual teams in the competition. We've seen 2 national teams being part of the competition. We've seen the senior national team, and we're also seeing the under 20, is it under 23 national team, under 20 national team participating in the competition. For many individuals, I would tell you, I'll be honest, from a sports broadcaster's perspective, in terms of selling it, in terms of giving it the vibe, it kind of sort of doesn't work the way people would traditionally expect a local competition to actually be held and featured. Why is it that the SLFA decided that this is the route they were going to go?
you have to show an appreciation to the fact that we did not have a senior tournament. We actually slow it down and we refocus on the development from the base. And if we are making a decision 2 years earlier to partner with a sponsor, one has to show an appreciation that it must be in compliance with the overall development plan. I want to tell you, Kenson, it's not because you're going to give us $100,000 US to run a tournament. Once it is not in keeping with the long-term plan, we are not going to accept the sponsorship. We are actually putting in excess of $55,000 from our own development money into the competition, and we had to find a way in order to do an evaluation of our two teams. We have two teams that are in competition mode. The under 20 is supposed to commence the World Cup qualifiers sometime in October, and our first game in the Nations League is sometime in September. So we are in competition, but we had to use those tournaments to do an evaluation of where we are.
Well, for some individuals would tell you that on the local level, in terms of the communities, pegging a national team against the community teams may not be the ideal level of evaluation that you guys may actually want. What do you say to
No,
that?
I disagree, because one has to show an appreciation to the fact that we have a first division, we have a club championship, a first division, a President's Cup, and a promotional. And the policy is to use the players. We assemble the 45 players from the first division, and together with the coaches now we are actually down to 18. We are aware at the SLFA that we would not have gotten the best set of players in terms of skills from the first division, because only the first division that we were using now. There is no other way for us to have seen players apart from trying to strengthen first the division. And by virtue of doing that, it was important for us to get something going for those two teams in order to expose additional players. And we are actually using the Coca-Cola tournament as a national selection in order to see the players.
All right. Of course, the other sort of buzz out there is the lack of one of the over the past couple of years powerhouses in football, Miku. Miku, we've seen that when you first look down at the fixture, obviously you would look at the communities that have fared well in local football, and Miku would immediately be one of those. What is the actual situation, and why is Miku not part of this particular competition?
Kenson, I hate the word powers in football, because I'll tell you why. If you take a look at the football in the last 4 or 5 years, you will recognize those who are called the powerhouse of football are those that appear to be the most disorganized in terms of the overall development plan of the SLFA. What most of those teams does is to focus on only senior football, and continuously you would see that no matter if you choose the players from those teams, our performance at the national level, when it comes to regional and international football, have not been what is anticipated. Now, there is a section of the community who thinks that once they could get those teams playing at probably a Black Hat level or a Super League level or Coca-Cola level, that is all. But for us as an organization, the ultimate goal, aim is to develop the game and to go to the next World Cup. And if those teams cannot contribute significantly to that, I don't think that they're going to add any value of being any powers in football.
Okay, so Miku being one of the communities, they are out of the competition. Of course, in terms of an explanation as to why a community like that, I think I'm deducing from what you're saying that in terms of the development plan and the actual, for lack of a better word, adherence to what FIFA wants, they've not fulfilled all of those things. Is that what I can deduce from?
No, but we have 3 teams that did not play. That was not part and parcel of it. Sozel, Babono, and
yeah. So I guess that question goes to.
Yeah. No, nobody's asking the question about Sozel. Nobody's asking the question about Babono. Everybody's asking the question about Miku. The challenge for us is that we have attempted to complete club licensing in the last 3 years, and I think we have issued in excess of 13 final deadlines, and we came to a point where we had to actually get to a point where we had to issue the licensing. In fact, assemble the clubs. What we then had to do, which was to finish the actual inspection, we needed to do spot check on every district whose clubs had applied for the license, and Miko was one of them who did not get the dates. Come the day we were supposed to have done the spot check, I think the matter was postponed simply because there was an activity. They claimed that there was an activity at the venue, and the deadline for us had already passed 1 month before that. So the SLFA administration took a position that they were not revisiting them because we could not have revisited three, four times, and that's basically where we are.
Okay. All right. So the actual competition, the structure of the competition, we've seen. I cannot say home and away because certain teams I don't have a home venue. We've seen venues being used. Tell us a little bit more about the actual structure of the competition.
Well, we wanted all the district tournaments that we are going to push, we want them to remain unique, and because we have to push a specific brand, we did not want to structure it like a Black Hat nor like a Super League. So what we did is to attempt to, I think, 9 groups of 2, and where each of those teams in their respective groups will have played 2 games each, and then the team that come out of that group is going to move to the second round, and the second round is going to be by deep sometime on Tuesday, Sunday evening.
Right, so some of the venues that are being used for the competition, we started in the Masha grounds. What are some of the other venues that we could look forward to?
We chose the venue simply because of the lights and the enclosement, and simply because they were much easier for us to manage. We are going to be using the Souffre playing field, the Ansobe playing field, Masha grounds, Leclerc, and that's basically what the venues we are using at this time.
Interestingly, on the weekend, I do think before this competition, I got to the playing field at, I think the game was supposed to start at 6. I got there about 6:02, and the game had already started. I don't think I can recall a time a tournament was organized and the games seem to be on schedule. Is it something from the sponsors, or is something a direction that everybody's deciding that we're going to have match commissioners and this is how the competition is going to be run?
No, I am not aware in any of the district competitions in the last, at least for the last 2 years, that games have not started on time. I am not aware as SLFA president. Super League was the same. Black Hat is the same. Once we introduce the match commissioners, we have venue inspection, we have technical meeting, we have conduct, and the teams are aware that there are heavy fines for failing to meet the requirements.
All right, okay. So we do for a break. We'll take our final break. And of course, when we come back, we're going to look at some of your messages, and of course, we're going to take in any of your questions you have for me, any of your suggestions that you want to make in terms of the World Cup teams that you've seen, what your impression of the World Cup has been, and of course, we have our very own competition right here in St. Lucia, the Coca-Cola Cup, happening as the World Cup is going on, so you can take in some action on TV. Of course, you can take in some action locally. I think right now we have a schedule of games going on. We'll look into that schedule when we come back, and we'll take in your messages and also your phone calls. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to 758 Sports Talk, and we're discussing football, and we have a number of activities on the way, and none more so, Junior, than the Coca-Cola Cup that is ongoing. I have some other information from the football fraternity. Of course, we spoke to the Viewfort South Football League. They started their promotional cup. We have a number of promotional cups ongoing in St. Lucia. Grosley is pretty much at the final stage, and we saw on the weekend the Viewfort South contingent starting theirs. I'm trying to sift through some information I have there for you guys. There's another press release from football with regards to their summits. Their summits in the various areas. Oh my goodness, this thing is, I think I'm missing one of my papers here. I think the president might have taken that paper, but anyway, all right, so I'll try to revisit that when we get the opportunity. But we'll just look at the schedule of football games for the Coca-Cola Cup. So far, we've seen on Sunday 24th, we saw Canaries come up against Leclerc, and we saw the second game, Marsha, they took on Ancillary. Marsha played at home at 8 p.m. Tonight, we've seen South Castries. They were scheduled to come up at 6 p.m. against Roseau Valley, and that I have on my schedule there at the Ancillary playing field. And the second encounter was supposed to be what I termed the blockbuster. Mr. President don't want me to say powerhouse, but these two teams have been doing very, very well. And I would say my powerhouse is Dennery and Grosley coming up in that game at 8 p.m. Obviously, I guess somebody will send me the results if they have it via phone for 880-929. You can tell me how that first game went between South Castries and Roseau, and Grosley versus Dennery. So that should be, the information should be coming in very soon. All right, so I finally got it together. The Executive Committee of the St. Lucia Football Association, Inc. have decided to continue to garner the viewpoints of its members and clubs. In this instance, they have decided to hold 2 summits to discuss technical programs and policies currently employed and to gain the support of the member leagues. So the Vice President for the zones will indicate the respective leagues and transportation arrangements for these summits. Each league is expected to mobilize its clubs to ensure that they attend the summits. The registration form is, they can send it in no later than June 29th, 2018. All right, so the Vice President Emmanuel Belascha Daisy will make transportation arrangements for their respective zones. The Southern Summit is on Saturday, July 21st. So the information is out way in advance, comprising of the following leagues: the Mabia Valley, Dennery, Monrepo, Miku, Choiseul, Canaries, Ancillary, Roseau, and the South Castries leagues. And of course, the Vice President, Mr. Kendall Emmanuel, and Mr. Alvin Francis will make the transportation arrangements for that area. So Northern Summit, July 17th. Southern Summit, July 21st. All right. The Northern Summit would be definitely Grosley, Barbono, Leclerc, Castries, Marsha, Miku, Soufre, Viewfort South, Viewfort North, and the Dairy So Football League. Wow, interesting cluster there. All right, so let's get into some of the messages. We opening the phone lines for you guys. The number will appear shortly for you guys to call and let us know what you think so far. All right, we have a couple of messages. All right, good evening, gentlemen. What is the vision for the SLFA? How does the SLFA plan to get there? Are we on track? If not, why? And what is the plan to get back on track? What is the vision for the SLFA? I think that's a question that you would probably often get. And how does the SLFA get to go there? Are we on track, Mr. President?
I think we have been answering that question every single time we appear.
Mm-hmm.
The overall plan is to develop the game and to take this country to the next World Cup. And the way we began was to we de-emphasize senior football. We needed to rebuild the base and get those kids playing over a period of 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
Where we are now, we are actually 2 years early in terms of the turn, and that's why we accepted the invitation to partner with Coca-Cola in order to reintroduce senior football at the district. level. What we anticipated that we would have been there after the Olympic qualifiers. That would have been our next senior team. But with the introduction of the Nations League, where it was mandatory for us to compete, we had to have a senior team put together, and that is why we had to reintroduce one in that Coca-Cola competition. So by next year, we'll be able to merge the existing senior team and the old Olympic team to give us a final senior team.
All right. Somebody says, what's up? First game, Castries 2 against the South Castries, Roseau Valley 0. I think the first game was South Castries versus Roseau Valley. So when the person says Castries, South Castries 2, Roseau 0. Jonathan Alfred in the 14th minute and Brad Paul in the 40th minute. I tell you, we have it here, you know. Brad Paul in the 40th minute on Wednesday, 6 p.m. Mabia Valley. They will take on the Soufre at 8 p.m. The return class, Marsha and Ancillary. So right away on Wednesday, that should be a very intriguing encounter, considering what occurred in the first leg. All right. So your overall impressions, day one, you were at the Marsha grounds. What did you think of the competition so far?
Before I go into that, we shifted the games from Ancillary today to the Marsha grounds because the venue.
Okay.
The venue was not conducive because there was an activity.
All right. So I was wondering why was this individual updating me all the way from Marsha?
Yeah.
Right. So the games actually took place
at Marsha, not in Ancillary.
Not at Ancillary. Okay. All right. So definitely.
I think we had a fantastic start in terms of the presentation of the tournament and the anticipated results that have been given. For us at the S level, what is of key is for us to produce this tournament to the best of our ability and to ensure that the sponsor meets its objective together with us. As we have indicated, the Coca-Cola is a trial run for us. We are looking at additional players in order for us to complete national selection for the senior team, which we should be able to end that national selection by probably 1 day before the finals of the World Cup.
All right. Okay, some other information there. Somebody says, hey, Spain are going to win the World Cup. I love them. Spain is the best. Good luck. You didn't see Spain today. Good luck, boss. All right. Somebody says, I don't think the Soufre playing field is suitable for football right now because the seeds are being spread so as to help with the growing of grass. So I believe Miku should be used. All right, so Soufre, investigation at Soufre playing field.
We'll do a venue inspection tomorrow.
Okay.
Rest assured.
All right. Somebody says, what is the situation as it relates to the Miko team not being included in the competition? I guess you tuned in late. We did have a discussion on that. Okay, that message came in earlier. So I guess, that message came.
We may be able to solve that issue in the next 2 weeks, because once we can get the inspection to be done with the teams, we are going to, the file has already been passed on to me as SLFA president on the issue, and I have decided that I'm going to do the spot check myself. Once we can get the spot check done at the time that's convenient to the SLFA, and once the teams does not show up, it means that they are going to be back to square one. And I don't want to leave no doubt in anybody's mind. Once there's not a compliance, there are going to be no more competitions that any other teams are going to participate in. This is not about me, this is about compliance, and it's something that we just must do.
All right. So in terms of the Miku, since persons are going to be asking about it, compliance, Miku, the community, the FA, the association there, pretty much they just need to get in their compliance and they should be back in competition.
What fascinates me about this Miku thing, when we did the first call for this project, one of the clubs indicated that the president was out. They want a postponement, and the deadline for completing that was December 31st, 2017. They knew that. A second club says that they have already purchased everything. The president out of there, so it means that 2 clubs with an executive of 5 did not want to meet because one person was out. That doesn't make any footballing sense to the CLFA.
Yeah.
And that is where we are similar because nobody took her serious.
She also have a complete executive to oversee individual
No, not
matters.
necessarily. If 4 or 5 person or 3 person turn up, but you cannot tell us on the club lights in 1 person is out and you cannot assemble your club. It means that you just did not have an executive, you just did not have anything in place.
All right. So more messages coming in. The team watch and the team that will win this year's World Cup is Portugal. They play together and the best player is on their side. Really? Who's that best player? All right. Somebody says, Mr. Cooper, would you really choose Morocco, or you just happy CONCACAF countries beat Morocco in the bid to host the 2026 World Cup? Interesting, Morocco, and of course you went over to Russia for obviously that the vote. Of course, there was a time when the conversation was Morocco was the favorite. That's a couple of years ago, and then for me especially, there was just no doubt that the North Americans would have won the bid. How did that work out for you for the SLFA?
I'm not sure that the votes were already counted long. I think if there was any shift towards the United bid, it had to be the week of the vote and the day of the vote. I
meant in terms of favorites, overall how persons look at it, the USA, Canada, Mexico, Morocco.
We've been the favorite. If the votes were not, if the count were not as a block for the United bid, it would have still belonged to something else. Okay. I think what swing most of us is the fact that FIFA did a presentation and the results were that the United bid the Morocco bid by over 89%, and it was extremely difficult for us to have seen that level of presentation. Plus, we were coming from the same confederation for us to vote against the confederation as a block, and that is what I think that may have swing, but nothing was in the bag 2 or 3 weeks before.
So, is there any way? We've heard you say on a number of occasions, St. Lucia making it to the World Cup. Of course, we're moving away toward from the 36 team over to 48 teams to compete in the World Cup. Is there any anything feasible in terms of the West Indies as an area, probably partnering with either Central American area to actually put a bid together for hosting a World Cup? Is that anywhere in the thoughts of CONCACAF individual?
For that to happen, the governments must commit to hosting it, just like what they did for World Cup cricket. And because there are a number of legislation that had to be changed, sunset legislation, they won't call it, they have to have free movement. So once you land in Jamaica, there's no immigration to come to St. Lucia. And I do not think that it may happen not in that World Cup. And plus now, the World Cup is more based on the revenue side and not necessarily the presentation in terms of one capability to host. It's pure marketing and revenue.
So in other words, most of the bids would be based on, okay, say, for instance, Morocco was able to bring in 7 billion, the North American 14. Right. That would be the things that would take precedence going forward. All right, somebody says Belgium versus France finals, Germany versus Spain, third place. Somebody says, good night, Kenson. Would like to congratulate the Dennery Mabia Valley female football team for winning the Under-23 female championship on Saturday against Soufre Canaries. 3 years in a row, 2016, 2017, 2018. Congratulations also to their players, Lana Vitalis, Eliza Marquis, on winning the most outstanding defender and player of the tournament, most goals respectively. Good team effort, and there will be more championships to come. All right, congratulations, of course, to Dennery, back 3 times champions of female football. Before I go into that, good night, Kenson and Mr. Cooper. Just viewed the national team training in Migu. They look good. If you can't come to do the spot check, the alternative is for clubs to come to you on a date convenient because the situation is not ideal. Yeah? No comments?
No, I've always said that I've taken over the files and I'm going to deal with the issue as SLFA president, but it does not mean that if there is no compliance that the surface is going to change. The status quo is still going to remain the same, and we have taken that position from an administrative standpoint. No compliance, no football.
All right. Somebody says, currently waiting on getting our revenge against the Viewfort South. Hashtag Team Canaries. All right, so it's that. I was wondering whether it was in the start. All right. Somebody says, can the president tell me in which country has a national team in same competition with local teams? Can he tell me the mandate of the SLFA? Isn't it to develop club and national teams? I know FIFA do not approve this district football thing. Why is the national team the right thing?
I want to leave Kenson no doubt in your mind and dispel the notion that FIFA does not approve the district. There's no truth in that. That is misleading and wrong. And one of the things that continue to aggravate me in football is when people attempt to use one conversation with misleading information. I don't think that that there's any need to try to mislead anybody. The only requirement is that the country must be in compliance based on its membership. The way you structure football is your responsibility and nothing else.
Okay, interesting question. With regards to the national team, is there any plans to include overseas-based players into these two national teams that we just spoke of?
When we complete the national trials, which is what we actually do now, that is the second phase. The overseas players has an automatic slot under the national team. The policy is to continue to maintain a group of local-based players of at least 18. And once we see the weaknesses of under strength, we will make the change in terms of who comes to join us. We have always said that we want the best set of players exposed to us playing, representing St. Lucia.
All right, so I'm not sure who the person is posing the question to, but I'll pose it to you. I'll leave myself out of that. The national under 20 versus the national senior team. Who do you think will win, Mr. President? From what you've seen,
the intention is to put both sets of coaches under pressure and get the best results. And we will see which are the teams that we need to make the necessary adjustment to. Kenson, one must not forget that we're going into a Nations League where the games are played on the international calendar, where every country has the right under it to have its best players. All of them are professionals, and because of that, we have to use a system where we could expose our best set of homegrown players before we add the foreign players.
Okay. All right. Somebody says the SLFA will never get the best of our players, especially the young and upcoming, because every time we have a youth team who goes out and does well regionally, all we do, especially the president, Mr. Cooper, he addresses the media and promises to keep the group together, but time after time we realize that this is nothing more than lip service. These guys don't care about the players, and the prime example is an incident which occurred with two national players from Soufrière who were part of a youth team who participated in the annual Easter Youth Tournament. I'll get back to that message. Good evening, you're live. Go ahead with your contribution, caller. All right, so we missed that caller.
Kenson, those comments are reckless, wrong, and misleading. I have never in my life indicated to anybody that I'm keeping any team together. I've never made this pronouncement because I know the costs associated with it. What the plan have always been is to keep in concept. If we move from under 15, development league within CONCACAF, we bring the team back 1 year earlier in preparation for under 17 World Cup. We do the thing the same way and the same way. What the caller is attempting to do, what the caller is failing to do, is to tell the public what transpired with those young Soufrière players.
All right. Good evening. You're live. Go ahead with your contribution.
Yeah. Good evening.
Yes, sir.
I watched the game last evening.
Mm-hmm.
But it would appear to me that Paul George is really out of shape, because I thought that they were the our national players, international players coming to join the team automatically. But I was watching his game and it looked like he's like out of shape, out of form. So I was just wondering what are the requirements, or is there any persons like scouting them when they go overseas and play, and the level of game that they play up out of St. Lucia.
All right, I'm not familiar with who Paul George is. Which game you're talking about?
Sorry, John Paul.
John Paul. You're talking about basketball?
Yeah, basketball.
Oh, boss, because I mean, you totally threw me off there, because I know the national team did not play, and I mean, again, I was at the Marshall ground, so I did not get to actually see St. Lucia's basketball team play. But at least preface what you're saying, so I know what you're talking about. I did not get to see them play. From all information, Elijah Williams spoke to that game this morning. St. Lucia had a number of turnovers, 36 turnovers in a game. You're just giving the other team the ball every time. I mean, you're not going to win. And if the scoreline is going to end at that I think it was 20 points, and it was close at halftime. It speaks to the team having that potential to do well if they can just keep the ball. So I'm not sure. I did not see him play either, so I cannot really comment on his exploits.
Okay,
I do know that they've been preparing for that Suriname competition for a while. That preparation started last year for that national basketball team, and so they would have, I think, Coach Damon and the rest of the team, they would have evaluated his play, and I would think they would have been in a position to select the best team to travel to Suriname.
Okay, I understand. That's my concern. I tuned in kind of late in the sports talk, so I thought it was everything involved basketball, and so that's why I called.
Well, we talk about everything, but I didn't make much mention about basketball. We're going to have our basketball night soon, so there's just World Cup, there's football going on locally, there are promotional leagues everywhere, so that's why football is pretty much the main focus. We did a little bit of swimming, we touched on some of the cricket and that sort of thing.
All right, good stuff.
Yeah, man, appreciate it. Yeah, you too. Yes, sir. You are saying.
What happened with those two young players? Under the rules that there are no transfer of minors. The club deliberately play the minors when the SFA told them that they had to get the consent of the parents. The club chose not to do it, entered the club in a tournament sanctioned by the SFA. The club was suspended for breaking the rules.
Good evening.
You need to have said so.
Sorry. Good evening, your live. Go ahead for contribution.
Yeah, Kenton. I'm calling. I'm watching the show right now.
Yes, sir.
I'm asking a question.
Turn on the volume, because you're listening to yourself on the thing, so you delayed it. Ludong sir, Vitma. Go ahead for contribution.
Yeah, regarding to the national team. When you choose all the quality players from the team now, what you leaving the team with? And number two, if in case the national team win the title, what them players expecting to get financially? Asking Cooper that question, I want to know what's going on.
Okay. All right, you're going to hang up and give you an opportunity to answer? Or you're going to hold on? Go ahead, Mr. Cooper.
That's amateur football. Every single player knows that there is no reward for playing except trying to make your national team, being exposed internationally, see which club that can buy you, get into a professional or semi-professional setting and move forward. The distasteful thing about this country's football, Kenson, for me, and that color in particular, there is if you do a survey, and if you want, I could pay for the survey for you to do, you will see 75% of the players, the clubs, and the teams, there's three things. One, they want to dribble somebody. I mean, that's excitement. Two, they want to win a club, beat a club. Three, and they want to ensure that they could win a district tournament or championship so that they could force the organizer to share the money. This is not what the organization is about. This organization has to qualify for the next was come. Those individuals are adding no value to that concept. And nothing's changed if we may just have to divide this organization next round into three. Those who want to do the aspiration go into the next two, those that just want to play for money. But the two cannot coexist at the SLFA.
All right. Somebody says, good night, gentlemen. Can the president say if there are any upcoming international friendlies for the senior national team? I would hate to imagine that our national senior team will only be tested against district teams.
We have, as we speak, 2 invitations for a friendly sometime in August. And both teams are actually one of the teams on the route to Martinique and one of the teams on the route to St. Vincent. We got an application for a friendly from Belize. I think it was for them to have played 2 weeks ago. They were in Barbados. We had to turn it down simply because we didn't have a venue. Towards them, they were preparing both issue for cricket, and Fiji, who was not on the table, Philip Massacre, is under renovation. So we had to turn down the invitation. We have already attempted to put together. We are still planning at least 2 friendlies, one every other month, as the team continue to compete. But playing domestic competition now is not friendlies for us. It's national selection.
All right. So our final message we'll get to as we out of time is I don't think it's fair that foreign players get automatic picks. Playing outside doesn't mean they are better and doesn't mean they will gel together with the team. Everyone has to work and have no bias. I don't think anybody said automatic pick, but what's your response?
Nobody is suggesting that there's an automatic pick, but there is no prerequisite for any foreign player we think that went overseas under our international transfer who plays football as a career. He's actually playing football at the next level. He is going to strengthen the team, and we're just not going to take him. We'll do the research to make sure that he's actually playing. And once he can fit into the system, that he is going to be given the opportunity. Those are, every single country has overseas players, except St. Lucia. So I do not understand why there is a level of disenchantment by a handful of persons about foreign players. Kenson, if we did not have that fourth generation rule that still exists in the Citizens Act, by now we would have 9 foreign-based players who want to play for St. Lucia. As easy as that.
Wow. All right, so we're out of time. Last words, of course, from you, Mr. President.
We really want to take this country to the next World Cup. We really want to continue to build the national team, and I think now is an ideal time as we have reintroduced senior football. 2 years earlier, we are looking for the support of the public, especially the sponsors. And let's see if today we could take football to higher heights.
All right. Thank you so much again for being present. Of course, answering the questions of the general public. Of course, the Football World Cup continues. I was surprised that nobody asked me who I picked for the World Cup. So since nobody asked me, I mean, I do have to answer. I guess next Monday we'll talk again. And I think I've been clear in terms of what I think will happen this year's World Cup. All right. So thank you very much for joining us for another episode of 758 Sports Talk. On behalf of our entire sports team, I'm Kenson Kazmi. Of course, St. Lucia Sports Online. Right now, you can see some of our videos. We're actually updating our SLSO Sports Update. Split it a minute and 30 seconds to 2 minutes long. So when you see that uploading on the page, it is not spam, St. Lucia. It's just simply yours truly giving you some visual updates of what's actually going on locally. It's pre-recorded and put on there for the entire day, so you can share it. For individuals who want to get it as they go, a notification on your phone, you can like the page or you can subscribe to the page. That's www.stluciasportsonline.com. Of course, you can join me tomorrow morning with Elijah Williams and the crew at Vibe Radio for the banter and the Vibe Sports News. That at 7 a.m. on the Vibe Radio. On behalf of our entire sports team, I'm Kenson Kazmi. Do have yourself a good night.
Qatar would gone good.